Hello everybody. So till now the topics which we have covered is we have talked about magnetic circuits, and where we have talked about reluctances, MMF, flux, and the electrical analogues of this magnetic circuit, where we have seen that this flux, or corresponding to current we have flux, and corresponding to MMF we have EMF, and corresponding to resistance we have reluctances. Okay, and then we have solved two problems related to it. Then we have talked about the magnetic materials, where we have talked about BH characteristics of ferromagnetic materials. Okay, so now we'll discuss about the AC excitation of ferromagnetic materials, where we'll first talk about Faraday's law, and then we'll talk about RMS value of the induced voltage in a coil, and the importance of operating voltage and its frequency. Then we'll talk about hysteresis and eddy current losses in a ferromagnetic material. Okay, so generally we have seen this kind of magnetic circuits, but this kind of magnetic circuit is actually the base for many magnetic circuits in electrical circuits. So we'll take up this as an example. So let's say here we have a coil is wound over it. Okay, and n number of turns are there, and let's say this coil is actually energized by an AC source. So obviously the current which will flow in this coil would be a sinusoidal current. Let's say that current is Im sine omega t. So if current is Im sine omega t, what about the flux here? So let's say it's a sinusoidal one, so what we can say is the flux which would be produced by this current would also be a sinusoidal one, or would be a time varying one. So this flux, let's say, produced by it is phi t here. Obviously the direction of it, if the current is increasing, it's in this direction, so flux would also be increased in this direction. Okay, so the flux would be phi t. And let's say the reluctance of this magnetic core is R. Obviously this reluctance would be given by 1 upon mu naught mu R LC, mean flux path length, a mean path length of the flux is LC here, and area of the core is A. Okay, so what about the MMF? So MMF would be n times of IT, which is NIM sine omega t. So if MMF is known, obviously this flux phi t would be MMF upon reluctance. So this would be NIM. R is LC to mu naught mu R A into sine of omega t. So this quantity, let's say what I'm saying is this quantity is phi m sine omega t. So if my current is sine omega t, my flux is also is sine omega t, phi m sine omega t. So this I am representing it by phi m. Now Faraday's law, by Faraday's law says that whenever there is a change in the magnetic field or magnetic flux in a coil or in a loop, then there is an induced EMF, and the magnitude of that induced EMF is actually decided by rate of change of that magnetic flux, d phi by dt. So if the flux is a time varying one, okay, flux varies with time, then if flux varies with time, then there would be an induced EMF. If that flux is linking a coil, let's say, instead of taking that big, the previous example, I will just take a single, for the sake of simplicity, I will just take one loop here. Let's say this is terminal 1, this is terminal 2. Okay. So in this loop, if there is a flux phi, if this loop is stationary and the flux is actually a time varying one, then what we can observe is there would be an induced EMF here, and the direction, because if the EMF is there, then I should talk about the direction as well. So the direction of the induced EMF would be decided by the Lenge's law, which says that, so as per the Lenge's law, whatever is the effect, that effect will counter the cause of it. The effect will actually counter the cause of it. So the effect is induced EMF, and the cause of it is change in magnetic flux. Let's say in this coil, the flux is increasing in this direction. Okay, the flux is increasing in this direction. Since flux is a sinusoidal quantity, phi m sin omega t, so the flux is a sinusoidal quantity, phi m here, and this is omega t here, and this flux is actually increasing. Let's say when omega t is greater than 0 and less than pi by 2. So obviously in this region, the flux, the rate of change of flux is positive, d phi by dt is positive. So there would be, now since this flux is time varying, so there would be an induced EMF in this coil. And what would be the direction of that induced EMF? Let's say that since in this entire coil, I will represent let's say this is terminal 1, this is terminal 2 here. Okay, so this flux is actually increasing in this direction. Okay, everywhere. Fine. So since this flux is changing in this direction and this is increasing in this direction, so this terminal, let's say terminal E12, this voltage E12, I will say that this is positive. My convention is E12 is positive when terminal 1 is positive and terminal 2 is negative. Then I can say that this E12 is positive. This is my convention. Okay. So let's see what will happen when during this time when omega t is greater than 0 and less than pi by 2. So in this time phi t, this flux phi t is actually positive, d phi by dt is positive from 0 to pi by 2. So this induced EMF should be in such a way that it should counter the 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 increase of the flux. Or if I short this terminal, or in the other way, if I short this terminal, here, the current produced should be in such a way that it should decrease the flux. So how this is possible? So this is only possible when direction of the current is, so using my right hand rule, what we can say is, if the current goes in clockwise direction, in this direction, if the current goes in this direction and it comes out from terminal 2, okay, then only the flux produced by this current will counter this flux, the main flux. Okay, so this is only possible when terminal 1 is negative. Terminal 1 is negative. This is terminals, and terminal 2 is positive. So if this is plus and this is minus, then only the current will go into it. Okay, so but what we have said that E12T, I will say it's a positive one if terminal 1 is positive and terminal 2 is negative. So in this case, what we can see is ET or E12T is actually negative. Okay. Now when omega t is greater than pi by 2 and less than pi, so here it was d phi by dt was positive, so induced EMF was negative there. Similarly from pi by 2 to pi, it would be so here d phi by dt is negative. Okay, so if I short these terminal 1 and 2, then direction of the current should be in such a way that, and here, so obviously here d phi by dt is negative, that means phi t is decreasing. So if phi t is decreasing, then which is the flux is decreasing, so if I short this terminal, the direction of the current should be in such a way that it should increase the flux, and this is only possible when current is in this direction, counterclockwise direction. Okay, in this direction. So this is possible when terminal 2, see, so when this terminal 2 is negative and terminal 1 is positive. So it means in this region we will have ET 1 to T as positive. Also from the Faraday's law, if you can see that ET, instead of writing E1 to T, I am just writing ET here, is minus of d phi by dt, and then since phi t is phi and sine omega t, so this we can write as minus of phi m d by dt of sine omega t, which is equal to minus phi m omega phi m omega cos omega t, and this is actually equal to phi m omega sine omega t minus 90 degree. Okay, so we can draw the flux and the induced EMF here. So from 0 to pi by 2, what we have seen is it is negative, and obviously you can see here this is the region when your d phi by dt, the slope here is maximum. So when the slope here is maximum, what we can write is the induced EMF would be having maximum here, and here the slope is minimum, so here it would be the induced EMF would be minimum here, and similarly in this region you will have maximum here, and again we can, if we proceed further, we find it here. So it justifies this as well. Okay, so this is phi t, so this is et here. Okay, so this was the case when I have chosen one turn. Okay, so obviously if I have, let's say, two number of turns, so one turn, I have one turn here, and let's say this terminal is 1 and this terminal is 2 here, and the second turn is also in the same location, same position, same length, everything same. Let's say here 2 here, and this is 1 dash here. So obviously this, if we end it here and it is connected here further to the 1 dash, 2 is connected to 1 dash, and then again we are finishing it here, so it's like adding two cells in continuation, in series. Okay, so similarly for n number of turns, so if in one coil E, let's say E voltage was produced, or E voltage was produced, so in two number of turns it will be E plus E. Similarly for n number of turns it will be n times of it. So similarly here, but there is a condition. The condition is if there is no flux leakage, there is no flux leakage, whatever the flux is linking with the first coil, the same flux is linking with the second coil, and the same flux is linking to the n number of coils, then and n number of loops, then we can directly sum it up. We can directly say that this induced EMF would be, so for n number of turns or loops, this induced EMF would be phi m and phi m omega sine omega t minus 90 degree. Okay, so what is the RMS value of the induced voltage? So this is the peak of the induced voltage. So RMS value of this would be E RMS, I am writing, of the induced voltage. It would be n phi m omega upon root 2. which can further be written as n phi m 2 pi f upon root 2. And if you solve it, ERMS, if you see, it would be 4.44 f phi m n. So let's say here in this circuit, if let's say this VT voltage was applied and we have marked this polarity here, this is 1 here and this is 2 here and this is ET here. Okay, so now you can say the significance of the polarity in the AC circuit as well. Okay, and we'll take up it in details when we'll discuss about the transformer. So we say that okay, this one would be the positive one and the second would be the negative here for me. Okay, so here the RMS voltage induced in this coil. So if we are applying a AC voltage here, so we would be having a induced voltage across this coil as well. Okay, and what would be the polarity? How would be the polarity? So if current is, let's say, increasing is in this direction, so if I short it, the induced EMF should be in such a way that it should counter the current which is entering into it in the increasing direction. Okay, so let's see if I short it. Let's say if I short it, so if I short it here, okay, and current will come out of it from 1 and it will go into 2. So if that is the case, you can see that if this phi t was being produced there, so it will try to counter this phi t. So this dot would be here only. Okay, so I have put dot here because this dot will indicate how the induced EMF would be generated on these coils. Okay, and this is an important thing. Okay, now we'll discuss about the importance of this expression ERMS 4.44 f phi m, where f is the frequency of this voltage is of the frequency f. Okay, now we know that we have discussed the BH characteristic. Of the ferromagnetic material. Okay, so let's say we are operating and we say, once I have said that generally we operate at its knee point. Okay, so this is the knee point, this is phi m here. Okay, now let's say this core has been designed to operate at 200 volt and 50 hertz. 200 volt and 50 hertz. This core has been designed to operate at 200 volt and 50 hertz. Okay, so now what will happen if I want to energize this core, assuming that there is a zero resistance of this coil? So whatever voltage I am applying, 200 volt, the same amount of voltage will appear here, and that KVL should be balanced one, right? So the same amount of voltage would be appearing here across the terminal 1 and 2. Okay, now if this core, if I want to energize this same core, same winding, same coil, everything, but at a different voltage, 400 volt and 50 hertz, 400 volt and 50 hertz, is this condition allowed? Let's say I have another condition, 200 volt and 25 hertz. Is this condition allowed? Okay, and let's say 100 volt and 25 hertz. Is this condition allowed? So how to decide? So now this code, this volume, everything, it has been designed to operate at a particular voltage, 200 volt and 50 hertz. Okay, so when I'm saying that this has been designed to operate at 200 volt and 50 hertz, that means it has been designed to operate at its knee point. Okay, so for, let's say, what would be phi m, it would be neglecting resistance, this would be same as Vrms upon F, okay, and this some constant K, 4.44, and number of turns, everything, right? So now if this phi m, if you'll see, it would be, it has been designed to operate at this ratio of V and F, which is 200 by 50. Okay, so this ratio is there. Now for condition 1, 400 volt and 50 hertz, so voltage I have increased, so phi m would be 400 by 50. Let's say I'm neglecting this ratio as well, so this becomes 4, or it would be this phi m, I would say phi m1, it would be 2 times of phi m. But if I'm already operating at its saturation or at its knee point, so I want to push this phi m further, right, at twice of this. But we have seen the BH characteristics of a ferromagnetic material. Beyond the knee point, there is hardly any chance of pushing the flux further. And here you are asking for twice of the flux, okay, of the previous one, phi m. Okay, the actual operating condition, twice of that one. So this condition is actually not possible. Okay. Now what about phi m2? So this is 200 by 25. So this is again twice of phi m. So this is also not possible. Not possible. What about phi m3? Third condition, 100 by 25, which is again phi m. So this condition is actually allowed. Okay. So I'm putting fourth condition. What about 400 hertz, 400 volt, 400 volt, 100 hertz. Okay. So my answer would be, again the ratio remains the same, right? Phi m4, 400 by 100, which is 4, this ratio. Okay. So it will depend upon whether I will say my answer would be, it depends whether the insulations allows this much voltage. Okay, so generally if I am reducing the voltage, then I should reduce the frequency for the optimal operation of this core. Okay, and this is the basics which would be needed while discussing the transformers as well. Okay, so in the next class we'll discuss about the hysteresis and eddy current classes in a ferromagnetic material, and after that we'll start the topic of transformers. Okay, so we'll stop here. Thank you.